100 years ago, Walter P. Chrysler launched a legacy that would redefine American luxury, performance, and innovation. From the wind tunnel-tested airflow to the wild turbine car, Chrysler's history is full of wild risks, bold designs, and family hauling icons. And for the brand centennial, they brought the greatest hits back to Detroit's Belle for one unforgettable party. Today, we're not just looking, we're driving. We got behind the wheel of the legendary letter cars, rode in a turbine-powered dream machine, and even took a nostalgic cruise in some K-car magic. Buckle up. This is Chrysler's 100th anniversary celebration, a century of American automotive history, and maybe a glimpse at what's coming next. It's been 100 years since former railroad mechanic Walter P. Chrysler gave his last name to a burgeoning car company. Chrysler cars were upscale and technologically advanced, early adopters of safety features like non-splintering windscreen glass, 1933, and padded dashboards, 1949, as well as experimental designs like the wind tunnel-tested airflow, 1934, and the radical turbine car, 1963. Later, Chrysler cars competed with Lincoln and Cadillac to be the preferred ride for fat cats and big shots. In the 80s, Chrysler went family-friendly, introducing the Minivan first as Dodge and Plymouth branded models, and later under its own nameplate as a town and country. When the Hemi engine made a return in the 2000s, Chrysler went for the sleeper muscle car with a 300 SRT, a highly slept-on collectible, in my opinion, but was soon eclipsed by the Hellcat-powered Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams, leaving what was once the flagship brand as the least interesting of the options, all of which could have left Chrysler celebrating its century in a kind of gloomy mood. But instead, the company hosted a birthday celebration at the Detroit Yacht Club on Belle, where Walter P. was a member, and invited all his favorite concept and production cars of the past. We also got a look at an anniversary edition, Chrysler Pacifica, which unfortunately does not incorporate the wood grain, big fins, or plaid wool seats of lovely Chrysler's past, but does come in a patriotic trio of color options, red hot bright white or hydro blue, and has special badges, and new for 26 grille and wheel options. If you're excited about owning an anniversary edition, they should be on sale now, June 2025, and start at $44,390. At $47,285 with AWD for the non-hybrid and $52,565 for the Pacifica PHEV. 2026, Pacifica Sans birthday badges will retail at $42,465 with FEVs starting at $51,070. But a single minivan does not a party celebration make, even if it does have semi-gloss granite crystal trim, so Chrysler let us get behind the wheel, or at least in the passenger seat of some of the cars from its heritage collection. Here are a few favorites. Starting on with Ford Chrysler 6 B70 prototype. Walter himself drove this car some 100 years ago. It's pretty cool to take it out on the road. We weren't allowed to drive this one, something about it being one of 5 prototypes that has been owned by the company since its inception. As its name suggests, the 1924 Chrysler is powered by a straight-six engine making 68 horsepower and backed by a 3-speed transmission with a dogleg shift pattern. Production versions of the B70 won the Mount Wilson Hill Climb in California, finished the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and set a 100 mph lap record at Brooklands Race Circuit in the UK. We didn't get quite to 100 mph, but the B70 has good off-the-line acceleration and a spectacularly roomy back seat. Now for Chrysler Airflow. The Airflow, top of page, looks so normal by today's standards that it's hard to understand how shocking its rounded front and smoothed out fenders must have looked to car buyers in the early 30s when every other brand was still upright and squared off. Orville Wright of the Wright brothers worked with the Chrysler engineers to test the models for the airflow in his wind tunnel. And while the results were too wild for the consumers and too complex for Chrysler to produce in a quick and affordable fashion, we can see the influence of the airflow on today's aerodynamic profiles. Chrysler Town and Country, 1951, Chrysler New Yorker, 1955 Chrysler 300, and 1958 Chrysler 300D. I'm putting all these together because they represent the introduction of nameplates that would grace Chrysler fenders for decades to come. This was Chrysler's big shot era, making cars that paced the Indy 500, introduced power steering and semi-automatic transmissions, and with the 55, shoved a Hemi V8 engine under the hood. Riding in cars of this era is a reminder of how cushioned and soft a luxury car used to be. The plaid-covered seats and tall white-walled tires soak up every pavement imperfection. The interiors are also fantastic, with chrome and bakelite details that make something as pedestrian as opening a fresh air vent feel like an important event. '83 Chrysler Turbine Car. This wasn't just a ride-along, it was a scientific experiment. Powered by a gas turbine mated to a modified Chrysler automatic transmission, this car represents the impact of the space race on the mainstream. There were 54 turbine cars made, and 9 in existence today, of which only a few are in running condition. The turbine car whirs like a jet engine and has a tach that goes to 60,000 RPM, although most documents about the car suggest redline was closer to 45,000. Chrysler received overwhelmingly positive feedback about the turbine cars, especially after running a loan program which allowed regular civilians to borrow the cars for a few months. As is often the case with ambitious ideas, the project was expensive and never went into full production. This is truly one of the wildest cars ever to grace public roads, and getting to see and feel it in action was very cool. Chrysler Cordoba. Is it wrong that out of all these fabulous machines, the '76 Cordoba might have been my favorite? It was just such a baller machine with its intimidating 4-light front end, bulk and silver paint, and grumbly 360 V8. This particular car belonged to Ricardo Montalban, whose smooth voice made Corinthian leather into a phrase still used. Today, ironically, this car did not have leather from Corinth, but instead was trimmed in silver vinyl. '96 Chrysler LeBaron Town & Country. Here's that wood grain and nameplate again. The K car gets a lot of grief, but it saved Chrysler from financial disaster, and I have to say, this was a pretty sweet ride. I felt like I should be heading to a country club to lay out by the pool, but not go in for fear of ruining my new perm. Chrysler Town & Country Minivan. Talk about nostalgia. The second I got in this, turned the key, and heard that distinctive seatbelt chime, I felt like I was back in carpool on the way to middle school. It actually gave me some unfinished homework anxiety. My mom never had a minivan, but plenty of my friends' parents did, and it was quite the flashback to roll that heavy side door back and scramble into the third row. Note to all modern SUV designers, the '96 minivan has a perfect space between the seats to keep a handbag or backpack. Chrysler 300 SRT8. Speaking of nostalgia, the Chrysler engineers must have been thinking back to the 55 when they stuffed the new 6.1-liter Hemi into the 300 and revived the idea of a luxury muscle machine. It was funny to drive the 300 after all the plush riding machines that preceded it. The early 2000s were all about a stiff suspension and direct steering. Still, I think the 300 SRT8 was overlooked when it came out, and would make a good buy today for someone thinking of future collectability. After sampling so many of Chrysler's excellent machines, one wonders what's next for the brand. Today's Chrysler is at a crossroads, with only a few variations of the minivan in its lineup. The role of glamorous SUVs is being covered by Maserati, Alfa, and of all things, Jeep. Big fast cars are under Dodge, and trucks, even if there was room, alongside Ram, have never been a Chrysler focus. It doesn't leave a lot of space, but there's still the possibility that Stellantis could return the company to big luxury cruisers or even bankers' hot rods like the 300,000. Recent concept cars like the futuristic Halcyon, revealed in 2024, show that Chrysler's designers and engineers aren't just thinking about third rows and stow-and-go seating. Here's hoping they bring back 5-digit redlines, undercover performers, and fine Corinthian leather. After a century of high style, Hemi muscle, minivan magic, and even turbine-powered experiments, Chrysler finds itself at a crossroads. The past is powerful, but the future? It's still unwritten. From wood grain wagons to muscle sedans, Chrysler has always had a flair for the unexpected. Let's hope the next chapter brings more 5-digit redlines, more under-the-radar performance, and maybe, just maybe, more fine Corinthian leather. If you enjoyed this trip through time, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into automotive history, and tell us, what's your favorite Chrysler of all time? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay classic, and keep driving something worth remembering.